Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram.
Iconic orange saris, shaved heads, singing, chanting, playing drums in the street while dancing. George Harrison from the Beatles. The Hare Krishna movement. Cult or not cult? Many would agree cult, but many, many more might agree the latter. I am your speaker, Casey, and this is the Cult Vault. Hare Krishna, institutionally known as the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, or ISKCON, was founded in 1966 by a man named A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, or known today as Prabhupada. In Sanskrit, this can be translated literally into meaning he who has taken the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Prabhupada, born 1896, was a pharmacist living in Calcutta with his wife and children. One day in 1959, he left his job and his family, taking a vow of renunciation, and he began a new life as a spiritual teacher, cultivating Hindu Vaishnavism. The Hindu religion goes back hundreds of years, and although the Hare Krishna movement would be a branch of Hindu Vaishnavism, its core messages and practices would differ from other denominations of Hinduism, and this is what would eventually lead to the movement being recognised by the social sciences as a cult. Addressed often as His Divine Grace, Prabhupada began writing commentaries on Vaishnava scriptures, and, as a travelling monk, he became an influential communicator of Vaishnava theology to India and also in the West. In 1966, for the purpose of spreading Krishna's teachings worldwide, he established ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada once stated, "I have come to the West for two reasons: to fight atheism and to deliver Krishna. Anyone who considers himself my follower will aid me in that mission." In other words, Prabhupada delivered Krishna teachings firsthand to the world, and many are devout to him for bringing Krishna into their lives. As its leader, Prabhupada emerged as a charismatic man who many believed is an incarnation of Krishna himself. This led to criticism from anti-cult movements, but also praise from religious scholars. Why do many people think Prabhupada is an incarnation of Krishna? A devotee explained it in this way, quote, "There are various types of incarnation, and one type is where the Lord does not incarnate himself. Rather, he sends a devotee, another powerful person, and empowers him with his own potency. That is why they are called Shakti Yavisha avatars, or empowered incarnations. The examples include Lord Parashuram, Lord Buddha, Lord Jesus Christ, or Prophet Muhammad. These are all great personalities who are empowered by the Lord himself for accomplishing some tasks. That is why they are considered Shakti Yavisha incarnations of Krishna." Srila Prabhupada built hundreds of Radha Krishna temples around the globe. He made all of the European and Americans sing and dance in the ecstasy of the holy name. He brought the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to the West. He wholeheartedly distributed the love of God to everyone. In his own words, he converted hippies into happies. So yes, Srila Prabhupada is indeed an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. And in fact, for me personally, he is the best incarnation of Krishna, end quote. So what was Prabhupada really teaching? He was teaching about Krishna and how to serve Krishna in order to obtain true inner peace. So who is Krishna? Krishna is supposedly an incredibly beautiful incarnation of Vishnu, the purest and most godlike version, who came to Earth around 5,000 years ago. And while incarnated here, his teachings and principles were all recorded, not by Krishna himself but by devout followers. These scriptures are called the Bhagavad Gita. Other gods that are referenced in these teachings are known as demigods or lesser gods, who are required to run the universe but are not considered the one true God. So how is all of this known? One of the most recent incarnations of Krishna on earth was a person named Chaitanya, who was a 15th century Vedic spiritual leader, considered an avatar of Lord Krishna by his followers. Chaitanya founded Gaudiya Vaishnavism, which is a religious movement that promotes Vaishnavism or worship of Lord Vishnu as the supreme soul. Gaudiya Vaishnavism teaches the acceptance of Bhakti Yoga as a method to realise the ultimate truth. Chaitanya is credited with creating the Maha Mantra or Hare Krishna mantra. Chaitanya claimed that repeating the phrase would bring you closer to God. God would receive your message, and so you could communicate with God. The more you could serve him by chanting, the closer you would get to a life of inner peace, and the more karma you would eliminate. ISKCON's philosophy seems simple on the surface. Members of ISKCON believe in God and reincarnation. They believe that every single living thing on the planet, and on various other planets within the solar systems, are reincarnations from another life. That when you die, you come back as a monkey, an ant, a bird, and that the purpose of life for devotees is to end this process of reincarnation through selfless devotion to God and to your guru. The goal of its members is to spend eternity intimately serving Krishna in the spirit world. And to reach this spirit world, a set of daily routines of worship must take place to please God. God refers to Krishna, and Krishna is one of the avatars of Vishnu. There are 3 main incarnations or avatars of Vishnu. They are often referred to as Rama, Buddha, and Krishna. Although there are 24 avatars of Vishnu, ISKCON, of course, worship Krishna above all other incarnations. Hare Krishnas believe that a crucial part of a devotee's service is to be subservient to a living representative of Krishna. This is the guru. Devotees are taught that there is no way to end the process of reincarnation without becoming a disciple of a guru. ISKCON's principles are also superficially simple on the surface. There are 4 rules to follow. No meat eating. As the Hare Krishnas believe that all living things are reincarnations of a living soul, all things are sacred. ISKCON being a karma-based religion, you should not eat meat and harm another living being. Number 2, no gambling. Number 3, no drinking, caffeine or cigarettes. And number 4, no sex unless within a married relationship between 2 people who are devout to Krishna. It is also encouraged for official members to chant the Hare Krishna phrase repeatedly during meditation to ensure that Krishna is at the centre of your mind and receives your worship. Seems easy enough. However, the basic philosophies and practices people can follow barely scratch the surface. There are an endless number of rules to follow to become as devout as possible. From eating, drinking, showering and toileting, these practices are expected to be taken up in a certain order to complete initiation into ISKCON, although this can take over a decade. There is one simple truth with ISKCON members that trumps all else, and this is that their leader and founder, Prabhupada, is all-knowing, divine, and without flaws or faults. So now we've covered a brief history and overview of the Krishna principles. Here are some ex-Krishna members providing insight into why this movement has been labelled a cult or a sect. Firstly, how do people become involved in the Krishna movement? Well, if we go back to episode 1 of this podcast, I spoke about 7 steps of being indoctrinated into a cult. And step 1 is transition. The Hare Krishna movement has historically targeted students and, quote, hippies. Sources mention how young people particularly who are experimenting with drugs and psychedelics are targeted because of their willingness to try new things. People experiencing sudden loss, or people who have moved to a new town and find themselves looking for comfort or friendship, people with bad health mentally or physically. All these people have been carefully targeted. ISKCON promises to bring inner peace to devotees' lives. This must sound appealing to people in crisis. Those who are unsure in their own faith and when seeking answers or insights into other religions are regularly made targets too. On the surface, Krishna is not a religion, but a karma-based way of life. So if you're a Christian, you can still worship Jesus Christ and go to church as long as you keep Krishna in your heart and use the chanting to negate bad karma and bring inner peace. Of course, as people are encouraged to chant more and attend more meditation sessions and follow more and more rules to get closer to Krishna, there is less and less time to practice your religion and pray and go to sermons and visit your church. One example I heard about was a man simply looking for a new yoga group to try, and 7 years later he was just leaving the Krishna movement. Devotees are quoted as being sickeningly nice, to the point where you would feel guilty saying no to them making dinner for you, or you would feel bad saying no to join them for another yoga session. Offering to help you with your food shopping, show you around the new city you've moved to, be a shoulder to cry on during a time of bereavement. Every person's story that I've managed to listen to of them leaving the Krishna movement talk of how they were cooked for almost every single day, invited to super friendly gatherings with other devotees and mountains of amazing food that would make it almost impossible not to listen to why you should join the movement officially. To become an official member, which is different from being initiated, people must study closely the Bhagavad Gita as it is, which is annotated line by line by Prabhupada. Most of these studies take place at a 2-hour evening group every night, until a person has been accepted as an official member. Once somebody has joined officially, they are taught the further lessons of Krishna, the lessons that will bring you closer to inner peace and break the cycle of reincarnation. These include things like waking up at 3:30 a.m. and taking a cold shower to prevent your mind from wandering, followed by a 4 a.m. service which includes chanting to Krishna in front of statues in the temple for 3 hours, a second service at 7 a.m. making offerings to God and Prabhupada. And then at 8 a.m. there's a reading where a devotee will choose a line from the Bhagavad Gita to analyse. More chanting at 12:30, with meditation in between until dinner at 6 p.m, which is followed by another analysis of one line of the Bhagavad Gita, and then manage to find sleep before getting up at 3:30 again. If so much of the day is taken up by chanting, then why is this chanting so important? Some say it is the method used to keep Krishna in the forefront of the mind at all times, to bring you closer to Krishna. But it has been argued that this is to stop the conscious mind from second-guessing the actions of the devotee, preventing cognitive dissonance, independent thought, and preventing doubt. At first I thought simple chanting wouldn't be enough to do this, but then I realised that an official follower of Krishna would be expected to chant the entire Hare Krishna verse around 1,700 times a day, which can take between 2 to 3 hours. Some followers carry a set of beads, and on this chain there are 108 beads. For every bead, people will chant the entire Krishna phrase. This can happen up to 35 times a day. That is chanting the entire Krishna phrase 108 times, up to 35 times a day. Ex-members have spoken about how they have approached their guru in times of unsureness, times where they have doubted Krishna and its teachings. And the response? Chant. Deepen your connection with Krishna. Bring Krishna closer to your mind. Create inner peace by chanting more to Krishna. Chant, chant, chant. Devotees are usually encouraged to keep their involvement with the Krishna movement to themselves, saying that their non-Krishna friends and family will not understand. Followers are also encouraged in the early days to only associate with other devotees to further solidify their belief and understanding of Krishna. Countless accounts from those leaving ISKCON talk of how independent thought is frowned upon, that if you were to research about ISKCON on the internet, this is false news, and to socialise with other denominations of Krishna is also frowned upon, that other Krishnas who do not follow Prabhupada's teachings, but somebody else's teachings, are sinners and liars. The television, magazines and newspapers, anything other than the Bhagavad Gita is fictional and untrue. and you should chant more and move away from doing your own research or having free thinking. That's the job for your guru. Your guru has a direct line to Krishna, and they are a representative on earth for Krishna, so they will do all of the free thinking for you. That means that every decision you make in life should be passed by your guru for approval. Who you marry, how many kids you'll have, what you'll study, where you'll live. Your guru even gives you a new name that you will be addressed by. If you commit your life fully enough to your guru, then you can be initiated as a real devotee, breaking the cycle of reincarnation. And if you are a man, you can become a guru yourself. Many interviews of current Krishnas, who are 5, 7, 12 years into their service, are still hoping to become initiated, following that painful daily routine of devotion. Imagine 12 years of serving Krishna and your guru, and Prabhupada, the divine leader of this karma-based movement, to find out that he has been accused of being homophobic. He is quoted as saying, "The homosexual appetite of a man for another man is demonic and is not for any sane male in the ordinary course of life," end quote. He has also been accused of being racist by saying, quote, "These blacks, if they don't get employment, they will create havoc, these blacks, and they are not civilized," end quote. Not only has he been accused of being homophobic and racist, but he's also been accused of being extremely sexist by saying things like, quote, "It is not that women do not like rape. They like sometimes. They willingly. That is the psychology. Outwardly, they show some displeasure, but inwardly, they do not. This is the psychology." End quote. Sex, or no sex rather, one of the 4 rules to follow to be a devout follower of Krishna. But an ex-member of Krishna, Sam Murray, speaks of how, in order to be a good follower, quote, "no sex, except for the purpose of creating a Krishna-conscious child. Even married couples may not have sex for enjoyment, and even if they are trying to conceive, they can only have sex once per month at most. Sex between 2 loving people is a very natural aspect of humanity. A major part of cult programming is to limit sex. The sex that married couples are allowed to have is cold and calculated within Krishna. There are exactly 2 sex positions they are allowed to use, and the act cannot last more than 2 or 3 minutes, and the women must chant the entire time, because she is so unclean," end quote. No meat eating was another rule for a good follower of Krishna. Ex-followers suggest that this is another method of control, controlling everything you eat and drink. Food must be prepared by a fellow Krishna follower. It must contain no meat and must be presented to a statue or altar of Krishna before being consumed. All of these guidelines restrict members greatly at mealtimes. This usually leads to not eating at restaurants and not having meals with family or friends outside of the Krishna movement, making it only more convenient to stay and eat with local Krishna followers and emerge deeper into the movement. The rule of no gambling makes sense in a karma-based movement, but some have spoken about how this has also been like a method of control. Family holidays have been strained, not being able to join in with board games or quizzes or card games or charades. And on top of this, members are expected to donate 50% of their income to the local Krishna temple. Another thing that adds to the cult factor of this movement is attire. Sam Murray says, quote, "dress modestly." This is another way that cults alienate their members, controlling their dress. I wore saris almost every day because it was immodest for women to wear pants in the temple. And I went to the temple so often that it became impractical to wear anything else. One of the lies I was told right off the bat is that men and women are equal. This is not true. Husbands are considered to be a second guru to their wives, and wives must submit to them because they are unclean. Only men can escape the mortal coil of death and rebirth and ascend to heaven with Krishna. The most a woman can hope for after death is to come back as a male devotee. End quote.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
ISKCON released a self-expose of how the movement had been responsible for hundreds of child molestations and abuse cases in its boarding schools while parents travelled the world spreading the news of Krishna. An article in the New York Times reads, quote, "In its own official journal, the Hare Krishna movement has published an unusually candid expose detailing widespread physical, emotional and sexual abuse of children who were sent to live in its group's boarding schools in the United States and India in the 1970s and the 1980s. Parents were often unaware of the abuse because they were travelling around soliciting donations for their guru's books in airports and on the streets, leaving their children in the care of Hare Krishna monks and young devotees who had no training in educating children and often resented the task. The movement's leadership was first forced to confront the victims of abuse at a meeting in May 1996 when a panel of 10 former Krishna pupils testified that they had been regularly beaten and caned at school. They were often denied medical care and sexually molested and raped homosexually at knife point. I remember being made to sleep naked in a cold bathtub for a month. Jahnavi Dasi, 26, who was sent to a Krishna boarding school in Los Angeles at age 4, said in an interview yesterday, "I had wet my bed and it was easier for them to make me sleep in the tub than to change my sheets," end quote. Men of ISKCON are famously recognisable for wearing saris and donning shaved heads. This comes from the idea that styling hair to look fashionable or desirable is against Krishna's will. Followers do not wish to decorate themselves to look attractive, and so they voluntarily shave their heads. As for the ponytail that is sometimes spotted on the back of an ISKCON male's head, this is called a shika. Devotees believe that when the soul leaves the body, Krishna pulls the soul from the patch at the back of the head, so hair remains here at times to protect the sensitive part of the skull. You may often see members of the movement marking their bodies with tilaka. This is a mixture of clay and water that is seen as sacred. Followers will dot this substance all over their bodies using their ring finger while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Some followers may be spotted with a V on their foreheads. This is the mark of Vishnu and supposedly symbolises the followers' worship to Krishna, and in return Krishna protects them. Likewise, it is also supposedly symbolic of a Krishna hoof print on the forehead, as if Krishna himself has stamped these members and marked them. Prabhupada died in 1977. His legacy would be his translation of the Bhagavad Gita, the ancient Hindu text that he had carefully annotated, which explained the laws governing transmigration of the soul and its ultimate liberation. But Prabhupada also left behind a worldwide empire, with more than 100 temples, centres and schools run by 3,000 full-time members. Most of these temples had been built by devotees within the Krishna movement, devotees that offered free labour, and the 3,000 full-time members, they also work without financial payment. Since Prabhupada's death, an intense struggle for control has begun. In the 90s, a string of sex, money, and drug scandals had overtaken the movement, with a large number of its devotees leaving the fold in disgust. It is also rumoured that drug trafficking has taken place, and around 100 gurus have been noted to be driving around in flashy cars, owning mansions, and sleeping with many different women. It has recently come out in the news that George Harrison had a weapons trafficker actually living in one of his mansions. If we follow Stephen Hassan's BITE model of behaviour, information, thought and emotional control, we can see some clear links here to cult-like behaviour. With behaviour control, sexuality is restricted within the Hare Krishna movement and it is controlled. This is proven with the knowledge that ex-members have provided that members can only have sex with fellow Krishna followers. There is also regulating what you eat and drink by suggesting that you only consume food prepared by fellow Krishnas and ensure that it has been offered to statues prior to eating. With information control, this is seen when ex-members have been chastised for using the internet to search further into Krishna, or have been shunned for speaking to other Hare Krishnas who follow someone other than Prabhupada. Information control is suggested when members are asked to write journals each day. Thought control is seen in the way people's identities are being changed, by suggesting that saris are the best form of dress and the gurus changing people's names. The point within the BITE model regarding thought control through hypnotic and trance states quickly relates back to the Hare Krishna mantra and the sheer volume of times that it should be chanted by its followers every single day. This is also true of the BITE model's point that cults will use excessive meditation, prayer and chanting to block critical thinking and independent thought. With the emotional quadrant of the BITE model, love bombing has been actively used by Krishna recruiters, and it is regularly reported that followers are told that no happiness or peace can be attained outside of the Krishna group. All in all, I would ascertain that this following would scale 14 out of 35 on the cult BITE model, meaning mildly dangerous, and that being a part of this group could later lead to lack of emotional development for its followers. It's funny that when I was researching for this episode, I came across a YouTube channel called something like Hare Krishna TV. Is ISKCON a cult? Is the Hare Krishna movement a cult? The videos themselves are all around 2 minutes long, and they all have a member of ISKCON basically saying, nope, we're not a cult, we're just misunderstood. And maybe they are, but what's your opinion? Today, ISKCON has over 600 temples, centres and places of worship. With these 600 sites, millions of people are currently serving Krishna, and the numbers only seem to be growing. In the description of this episode, I've left a link for Sam Murray's full story. It really gives an in-depth account of what life is like within ISKCON, and she manages to tell her almost frightening story with humour and dignity. I also got a lot of the information from the Cultish podcast and their 2-part episode on ISKCON, so definitely go and check all of that out. If you find yourself in a cult or know someone who might be, please follow the link in the description for more information on how to get advice and support. If you would like to send me an email, you can on cultvaultpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter @cultvaultpod. Find me on Reddit @cult-vault. Find me on Facebook at The Cult Vault. Find me on YouTube, Tumblr, Instagram @Cult Vault Podcast. I'm Casey, and thank you so much for listening.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.